Hey there, YouTube. It's Petey Two Finger. I just got done watching The Bends for the second time. Now, The Bends is a movie, a biopic, a music documentary. It features some live footage, but mostly it's the primary members of Cincinnati, Ohio's The Raisin Band. Now, The Raisins, most people are familiar with these guys because of Adrian Belew and his band, The Bears, which, if you those who know will tell you that wasn't Adrian Belew's band. They were an entity unto themselves known as the Raisins, and Belew became a fan. He used to go see them performing, and he produced their first album. He had mentioned to the front man, Rob Fetters. It's kind of like they all wrote and they all sang. So saying the front man as Rob Fetters is like, well, he was, but that was only a technicality because when you see them perform, it's like, well, okay, Rob sings a song and then now the drummers sing a song. Oh, now the keyboard player is singing the next one, and the next one the bass player is going to sing. So you had this smorgasbord of musical ideas, and it made it a more diverse soundscape. That was the commercial downfall. They weren't marketable. I mentioned how the fans of the Raisins are possessive, and there's this feeling that like they should have been bigger than sliced bread. They should have been huge, because if you see these guys performing and you listen to this music, it's that good that they could have been like FM radio staples. They were that good. Just an incredible band. And nobody in the music business enabled them to take that next step because they felt that this band lacked focus. And it's interesting because as Rob Fetters moved on from the Raisins, the next project was the Bears. That project, all four of those guys were writing the songs. It was the same thing, and they had multiple vocalists. As same thing with the next band after the Bears imploded. The Raisins go back to Ohio, and they're now called the Psychodots. And that band was the same thing. It was a trio. All three of the guys wrote, and I think only two of them were really mostly doing the lead vocals at that point. The Raisins are a household name in that area, but when we go closer to the West Coast, people just don't really know who they are. They were like they really were an incredibly hardworking band, and they toured what's called the Chitlin Circuit, which I believe runs from Detroit down to Florida. So they worked really hard, and that's reflected when you hear them. They're just a phenomenal live band, an absolute treasure. There's the Rock Around the Block, the 1 hour TV show. You can see that on YouTube. There's the album that Adrian Belew produced. It's a really well done, really good sounding recording of that band. And then there's the Everything and More, which is mostly live and demo recordings. But that's an absolute treat if you become a Raisin fan like me. I discovered Adrian Belew's music in 1988. Real quickly, I discovered the Bears. And then I found out, well, this band has a history. They've been around. And I have a real soft spot for these guys. My wife and I have seen them perform live many times. But I got to tell you, even if you've never heard this music, you'd enjoy this documentary. It's a really well made. These are really interesting and intelligent people who have spent their life dedicated to this topsy-turvy world of rock. And this is like right up my alley. Like, I really love the stories when the performers, the musicians, people involved in this stuff sit down and just recant what it was like. So I definitely think you guys would go for this, even if you don't know who they are. The movie is well enough made, the stories are good enough, and you'll hear some of the music that'll wet your whistle. And if you're like me, before you know it, you'll be a fan. You'll have everything these guys ever recorded. It's that good. This is like it's at the same level as what the Beatles did, what Pink Floyd did. It's that good, you know. But I mean, I hold Adrian Belews music up at that same pinnacle point of achievement. I love it. And when I discovered the Bears, and then when we saw the Psychodots live, I realized, oh, those smoking guitar solos on those albums, like half of those were not Adrian Belew. It's Fetters. And he's got a real unique guitar styling. He's got a unique voice, and his songwriting is it's in a really he has the ability to really transmit emotion and message, have a really good message behind his music, and he's brave, you know. The topics are not always the easiest topics. So it's really interesting music that carries an emotional weight to it. And that, like, I love that stuff. And then you have the instrumental side of it where, like, this guy is a soloist that doesn't sound like other guitar players. It's completely unique. So this music, it's some of my all-time favorite. And it's really unfair to me to come on here and be like, oh, there was this documentary, and not tell you guys like how much I love this stuff. Like, I am a rabid fan. We've actually driven from Chicago to Cincinnati numerous times. We used to when the Psychodots were playing, we would, at the drop of a hat, we would find out, oh, they're playing in Indiana, they're playing over here, they're playing over there, and we would be on it, because those shows were just the time of my life, you know. So if that sounds like something you'd enjoy, I'll leave the link in the description for you guys. I'm going to cut you loose. I found there's a Melvins documentary, so I'm going to be watching that tonight. Colossus of Destiny, the Melvins. Great band who influenced Kurt Cobain. Now, I wanted to say, make sure that you try to keep warm. Also, hug your pets. That's the most important thing. And peace.